Interestingly, in Excel, there are two functions that are named almost identically, that have almost the identical functionality, and they are called the Workday functions. But there is a very clear and specific reason why you would use one over the other. So first of all, the Workday function, its job is to basically improve upon adding. So normally in Excel, I could take the date of May 12th, 2025, and add 35 to it, and I would get a date that was 35 days in the future. But the thing is, you probably actually want only the working days. So what the Workday function does is it assumes that there are a certain number of Saturdays and Sundays in between the starting date and whatever the ending date is going to be. So you insert the start date and the number of days, and then additionally there's one more argument you can use. If you just build out a little table of all the holidays that are coming up in the future, you can then highlight that list of holidays, and it will also skip over those dates. So this allows you to get an actual read on how many days into the future the deadline should be. Because if somebody is working 25 days, that doesn't mean you should go 25 days into the future on the calendar, especially around things like Thanksgiving or Christmas. Now, there is a second function, very similar to the first, called WORKDAY.INTL. And WORKDAY.INTL is different because what it allows you to do in between start date and days and holiday list is also specify that you have a non-standard weekend. So in the United States, we typically assume that you're going to be off on Saturdays and Sundays. But if that's not true, then you need to be able to specify what your weekend looks like. So the number 1 is, again, that conventional Saturday and Sunday. And then you basically go 1 through 7 until you wrap back around to Friday through Saturday. And if you feel like there's only one day a week that you're going to have off, then you could do 11 through 17. But if you want to do something more interesting than that, then take 7 characters, starting with a Monday character and ending on a Sunday character. And if you're going to be working, put in a 0. And if you're not going to be working, put in a 1. So as you can see in this little area over on the right-hand side, I have 5 zeros followed by 2 1s. And if we think of this as Monday through Sunday, this is the conventional weekend. This is saying, please take off Saturdays and Sundays. But in this framework, you can now decide to put in any number of 1s and 0s in whatever positions make sense to you. Especially post-COVID, now that we're all in sort of hybrid situations and some people are thinking about going to 4-day work weeks and all sorts of different things, it's very helpful to be able to specify something other than just Saturday and Sunday. Let's take a look at this in real life. So as you can see, over on the right-hand side, I have this table with a bunch of dates going into the future. I actually went online and looked up all of these holidays. Now, what's important here is that the Workday function does not include any holidays that wouldn't be between the two dates. So you don't really have to worry about it being, too many dates listed here, as long as those dates are outside the date range. And as you can see here, I've got a Workday tab and a Workday INTL tab. Let's start with the Workday tab. If I start on January 1st and go forward 85 days into the future, I can go to cell F6, go to the Formulas tab at the top of the screen, use the Date and Time drop-down menu and grab the Workday function without the INTL on it. Again, the start date would be 1/1 of 2025, and the number of days would be 85. And then our optional item here is to highlight all of the holidays. Now, while we're doing this, as you can see here, it's 45,777 or otherwise April 30th of 2025. So let's watch as we highlight this column of dates over here on the right-hand side and see if it pushes us into the future. And there it is. If we highlight from H4 through H63, instead of April 30th, it now says May 2nd. Now, I will press the F4 key on my keyboard to put $signs on that reference because I don't want my holidays sliding all over the place. And I'll hit OK, and I will autofill this down. Now, don't be alarmed over here when this says 1900 for a little while, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to now fill in what the new start dates are going to be. If I go over here to cell D7 and use, again, the date and time drop-down menu, and I grab Workday, I can specify the starting date as May 2nd, this day over here, and then for the number of days, specify one day into the future from there. And again, I'll specify the holidays. And what's nice about this, and I'll press F4 to put the $signs on that, is that, for example, in this scenario, you can see that my estimated end date on the previous entry was May 2nd of 2025. But because I've decided to go one working day into the future, and I took into account Saturdays, Sundays, and these holidays, it now says that that's May 5th. So I click OK, and again, I autofill down. So from May 2nd to May 5th to August 27th, to August 28th, to November 26th, to then November 28th, and then February 19th, February 20th, etc. Now let's take a second and look at what we can do with INTL. So we'll do the exact same thing here. In cell F6, I'll use the Formulas tab, I'll use the Date and Time drop-down menu, but I will choose WORKDAY.INTL, which is supposed to stand for International, which in the olden days would be the only reason they could conceive of for there to be a different set of weekend days than Saturday and Sunday. But of course, these days it could be just about anything. So I'll choose workday.intl, choose the start date of April 22nd, and the number of working days of 50, which takes us to July 1st. And then, because I haven't specified anything in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's say that our office has decided to go to a 4-day work week and give everybody off on Fridays in addition to Saturday and Sunday. So that means that I'm working on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So 4 zeros at the front, followed by 3 ones at the end. And finally, I specify the holidays here as H4 through H63. Press the F4 key. Now, if you notice, it's not liking the 00001111. It thinks that's 111, and it doesn't really know what to do with that. So now what I do is I go back and I put quotation marks around that, and now it knows that that is the code for the weekends, and it's taken me to July 22nd. And I click OK, and I autofill down. And let's try the same thing over here on this side. Date and time, workday.intl, start date of July 22nd, 1 day into the future, 1 working day into the future. So it thinks it's July 23rd. And again, weekends, quotation marks, 4 zeros, followed by 3 ones, close quotation marks, and holidays, specifying all of these entries, and pressing F4 to put the $signs on. I hit OK, and I autofill down. And you can see right here that if you take into account a 3-day weekend, it is now jumped from January 8th of 2026 to January 12th of 2026. So you can see where it is missing those dates.